All right, is everybody ready?
We are ready.
Okay. Obviously, disappointing loss. Disappointed, for our seniors. I'm disappointed for the whole football team just because I think the work ethic, the mentality, all those other kinds of things are still there. Where everybody's putting forth the effort. And as a coach, when they're putting forth the effort and everybody's doing what they're is working as hard as they can, you just want to see them have success. And obviously that didn't happen for us down there. South Alabama, I think, has got a very good football team. Set it going in relation to they lost a bunch of close ball games within conference, and so they knew they were ready, and I think that they were kind of on a mission to prove something. Good for them. I think that once again the second half got away from us. And I think that was kind of the telltale thing in relation to going back and looking. And I think we don't have as many players to roll through during the course of a ball game. And quite honestly, while I think we were giving up maximum effort, the reality of it is I think we're just kind of running out of gas when we're playing against people that are rolling through players. There is no answer for that. There's just a challenge. And that's the thing we got to do is just recognize that, understand that we've got guys that have got to play more snaps than maybe what the norm would be, and they've just got to really find a way to reach down deep. I was really proud of, I don't know that anybody watched the game necessarily, but Rashawn Caesar in the second half, start of the fourth quarter, we got into a 2-minute drill. He made some big plays, obviously, during the course of the game. Rashawn has really stepped up, and he was running his routes full speed, and you could tell he was winded, but I didn't have anybody else to put in. I mean, we just didn't have anybody else to go to. And he knew it, and he just kind of kept rallying up. And so I finally used a timeout during that time frame just to get everybody just a little bit of a blow. Not that we necessarily, because we felt like we needed him later on, but and he basically collapsed right in front of me. And then got back up and went back and started playing again. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. That makes you, all the other things, all the frustrating moments, it kind of pales in comparison sometimes because for his coaches, to see a guy give it up like that, carry that much, that's for me, that's kind of what it's all about. And so, and obviously we need to continue that, and more guys have got to do those kind of things in order for us to cover some of our inadequacies along those lines. Playing a team this week that obviously is on a good run. I think good football teams win close games, and they've won a bunch of close games, had some comebacks, and all those other kinds of things. I mean, you can kind of go down through that laundry list of teams that we all know, because obviously there's this time of the season there's familiarity with teams, and we're in a lot of close games, and they've found ways to make plays and win games. Much different right now on offense than what they were last year, in the sense that last year they were a spread offense, and traditionally that's what they've been, and now they're more of the, I don't know if everybody's into the cliches, but they're more of the pistol offense with the back lined up directly behind the quarterback and turning around and handing off the ball, and now this is primarily a downhill run game team rather than a spread team. They've got a big line, and then obviously you've got to find a quarterback that whenever he's called upon to make a play, he's capable of making that play. Defensively, they made some changes last year. We were kind of one of the first, I think, from an introduction standpoint to see those changes. And they've carried through with them. And they're an odd front. They're 3 down. Not a big pressure team, but a lot of coverage rotations, a lot of drop 8. When I say that, I'm talking about dropping 8 people into coverage and only rushing 3. And they've got some uniqueness to them in the sense that they're going to play with inside shades on the tackles, which, again, it is kind of a unique thing to do. And so, once again, we have to, I think, look at our personnel and what we have to work with, understand kind of what that group can do. And then I think we have to kind of fall back a little bit on some past history in relation to some of the other odd front teams, Wake Forest, Texas State, Georgia State, some of these other teams that were this in this style of defense to kind of build a game plan that that we can function in offensively. And one of the challenges for us right now, obviously, is at receiver, where we still are not at full strength. Although I do think that Trey Perrier was able to play some in last week, and I think last week's game is going to be nice because he does give us a little bit of. Trey's got good speed, but what he does is he allows some other guys to cover other positions that are maybe a little bit more experienced. I'm talking about Rashawn, talking about a Jalen Holly, who maybe can play a couple positions. Whenever Trey goes out, it makes it difficult because those other guys can't cover some of those other positions in case of an injury, that type of thing. And then, again, I think we're going to have to rely on, some other players that maybe aren't as acclimated to playing the position to go out. We've obviously moved Courtney Davis out there full time, and I think Courtney's got some real strengths about him, but he's still trying to learn how to run routes, and so consequently we're trying to take some of that burden off of him and trying to do things that we think that can give them the best chance to be successful and not have them have to try to learn too much at this point in time. And so there's some we got to simplify. In the same sense, too, if we oversimplify against a good football team, then you're not able to take advantage of all the opportunities. And so there's a fine line, and that's kind of what we're battling right now. Questions?
Coach, you said after the South Alabama game that this team was kind of having to fake it to make it. Is that still, you feel, a pretty fair assessment?
Well, I think that no one else got injured this last week. And so that gives you another week to practice. And that gives you another week to be able to take some things and add some things, maybe look back at some other things that maybe they weren't capable of digesting in a short time frame. And, again, when you're looking at depth, for instance, Trey Perrier, not knowing if he was going to play last week, then that left you with just basically this group of guys, knowing that if one of them went down, then you had to have another game plan in place to be able to work with, because you didn't have anybody else that could slide out there. There was nobody else in that position. Now, if he's healthy and he stays healthy throughout the course of this week, and again, as I mentioned earlier, there's some crossover that now you can stay within your game plan a little bit. And so, yeah, we were with some of the things that are kind of going on, we're doing some things that we're uncomfortable with. I wish we weren't. I wish we weren't. I wish it wasn't that way for the offensive staff. I wish it wasn't that way for the players. These are football's life measured off in 100 yards, and guess what? It's not always going to be fair. These are life lessons, and we're getting a bunch of them right now. And like I said, I'm totally disappointed, especially for the offensive players, because they've had to go through all these changes through the course of the season. And I wish that we weren't, but we are. And again, we're doing the best that we can. We got a great group of young men, great staff, and everybody's trying to push through it. And that's all we can do is keep pushing and keep working hard. And I think we will be better this week on offense as long as we can stay healthy during this week. And I think we could be better this week than what we were last week, because we're still practicing with the same guys rather than having to kind of go back and start shuffling the deck again.
You talk about such a great group of guys. They go into their last game slot for the seniors. Do you think that it'll be more of a, hey, we're not going to have practice, we have nothing to lose, let's just go out there and have fun?
I hope so. I think that, again, as I've said multiple times, I know I phrase that often, but I don't really change along those lines. I think the opportunity to play has got to be the most significant. And while we recognize that 6-6 is huge around here, I mean, it is. I mean, that's a huge milestone in relation to, the previous history, the previous years. And I think especially even with some of the things we've had to overcome during the course of the season. I think that the seniors playing their last ball game. I think the rivalry game. I think that all of the things that can kind of come into play are there. And I think everybody can choose their own motivation, whatever it is. But the biggest one, again, is that opportunity to play. Because if I'm focused on that, then there's never any pressure, because I'm just enjoying playing. And that's what I want our players to do. I thought we did a great job of it last year. I've said it again. I don't know that we've handled it as well this year, quite honestly. And I think last year we were loose, we were playing ball, and just loving every minute of it. And this year we've played uptight several times, and we've got to get out of it. We've talked about it, but the reality is that I don't think that's happened all the time. I think the players will be the first one to tell you that they've played uptight at times, and some of that has to do with the pressure. Some of it has to do a little bit with confidence too. In terms of we've had so much of a shuffle offensively during the quarter. What's the most powerful thing, Tabby? Hope, right? As long as you got hope, then it allows you to kind of keep playing. And when all of a sudden you're not quite as confident because you know the deck's been shuffled so much, and you know that maybe if you're this guy, that I've got to kind of spend a little bit more time. If I'm the quarterback, I might have spent a little bit more time looking for a receiver, which is not necessarily what you want your quarterback doing. But I might have to, because I know that he doesn't quite know everything, because he doesn't have the experiences, he doesn't have all those other things. And so that plays a big part in it too, doesn't it? And we're learning these lessons, again, about life and football and all those other kinds of things at the same time. So we're going to go out, and I've already kind of instructed the staff, and I'm getting ready to instruct the players. I'm going to have a great time because I love these guys. I mean, I love them, and I love everything they've done for the program. And I'm going to miss these seniors, and I want them to go out, and I want them to have a great experience playing this next week. Win or lose, okay, we're going to have fun playing the game this week. And we're not going to worry about anything else but playing the game.
Since your first stint here, how has this kind of rivalry changed, or has it changed since then?
I don't know that it's changed. You're talking about me going all the way back to 2004, 2005? Yeah. I don't know that it's changed that much. I think that just like any other rivalry game, I don't think our rivalry games are generally not. The more mature your team is, the bigger the rivalry, because new players into a program, they never can appreciate a rivalry. They just hear it, but they haven't ever gone through it. I think the more that you've gone through one, then you recognize kind of what it's all about. We've certainly played some crazy games over the last few years, but I don't know that the rivalry has changed that much. They're going to have they've had great crowds all year long. It'll be a huge crowd. It will be based off past history. One of the tougher places for us to go in and play, and I'm counting all of them in relation to that, because they're outspoken. And so when you got a lot of people that are outspoken, it'll add some intensity to the game. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the last time I think that we were down there, they burned our flag. All that other kind of thing. I've been doing this for a long time. It's the first time I've ever seen anybody ever burn a flag. And so, it's obviously an intense game. It's an intense rivalry. When it comes down to flag burning, then you're pretty intense. And so we'll enjoy those moments.
The way that it ended last year, will that add extra motivation?
I don't know. I was, as I said after the game, there was a lot of things that were kind of going on at that point in time. No timeouts. Their punter was out first, and then they ran him back off the field. We had our punt defensive team out there. And because I'm thinking, well, if they're going to punt it, then we might as well try to block it. And so we didn't have our defense out there. I didn't have any timeouts, but I was thinking they're going to throw the ball away. And according to one of their coaches after the game, he was supposed to. He didn't. And, I'm not going to fault. Everybody's got the play, and I don't want to relive all this because it doesn't make any difference this year, but everybody's got the play where you raise up, you run around, you throw it out of bounds. And you can take about 7-9 seconds off the clock depending upon how much quarterback can run around. We got it. Everybody's got it. And they just didn't execute it well. And does that make this thing more bitter? No, I don't think that it does. I mean, I think that, according to the coach, the player messed up. The players are going to mess up sometimes. And but obviously we want to win the game just like we want to win every game. And so we need to bring our best game because we know that they're going to bring their best.
You talk about lessons that have been learned throughout the year. I know that injuries is a big part of trying to overcome, but what are some other things that you feel like that the team had to overcome and maybe were resulted in some setbacks that this game doesn't have the consequences that everybody thought it would, August?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think you're already touching on it, right? Expectations and disappointment. You know, I mean, that's what you're asking, right? It's for me to say that. I think that any time that there's expectations, unfortunately, what ends up happening, I think, in all that is we look at the entirety of things. And I said this, I addressed this a little bit last week, in the sense that I think that our football team after the Oklahoma game was disappointed. I said after that game, that's a great thing. We got to bounce back, but unfortunately, I think that because of some of the pressures from last year and everybody thinking we're just going to open up like we did the season before against Arkansas and have this big win, and then all of a sudden there was this letdown. You could feel it in the team, feel it in the fan base, feel it every place. And again, I'm still trying to learn how to control this social media thing, because I don't think it can be such a buzzkill. I mean, it's a negative thing sometimes. And again, expectations are wonderful things, because that means that you've already done something. Otherwise, there would be no expectation, right? You've already done something special. Otherwise, there'd be no expectation you're going to do anything. But there's also, with that, become these huge disappointments. And you've heard me talk about responding and reacting. And you have to respond to those things. And I think it was very difficult sometimes for our team to respond to some of those things. Wake Forest, I think, was a really good win for us on the road. I don't know if a lot of people viewed that as a good win. And so once again, you got this negative. Baylor has proved to be a very, very good football team. I know they lost this last week, but they and Eastern Illinois are the only two teams in this country that are running their offense. Eastern Illinois is in the FCS. Baylor and Eastern Illinois are far and away blowing everybody out of the water offensively. So they're doing it to everybody with this system that they're in. And again, there's that disappointment that kind of comes with that, and the negative feel that comes from it. So to answer your question, after saying all of that, I guess what I'm pointing out is that that's life. We're going to have disappointing moments, and guess what? There's going to be great moments too. There's going to be great moments for these young men coming up, and they're going to have wives, as Kolton smiles. They're going to have babies. They're going to have new jobs, and guess what? They're going to get fired from jobs, and they're going to have people pass away in their life. That's going to be difficult, and all those kind of things. That's kind of what that's what football does. Is that there is that strong and emotional tie to all the things that we do in football. Because you put so much into it, and so we live with great things. Last year was a great season. This year's been disappointing. I know the reasons why. No excuses. I know the reasons why. We all do. Wish we could change them. We can't, and so we move forward. But it doesn't. I think sometimes whenever things maybe don't go the way, then all of a sudden everybody starts kind of coming up with their own little reasons why. Well, the team's not working hard. The coaches, we've changed this, or we've changed that, or we don't care anymore. All the other kinds of things. Everybody wants reasons. The reason's staring right there in your face. When we were healthy, we were good. And there's the reason. But you got to deal with all the other issues too. Answer your question. Okay.
Any other questions for Coach Berry?
So with looking at Lafayette and what you were talking about, you saw a little bit of their defense last year. Do you think that you will stick with the change that you made during the bye week with the offense because of the null?
Oh, no, I don't. No. I mean, I think we're at that moment right now to where, again, we've got some guys out there that are not used to playing as much as what they're playing, and it's some of these guys were scout team kind of. I mean, you've got the whole thing, the whole dynamics changed right now, and so we've got to look every week at what we think we can do against this group, and obviously every team has got its strengths and weaknesses, and so you can't. Right now, we're having to shift and adjust because we've got to find out what our guys know. But it's also what can they execute, and this is a totally different scheme than what we saw this past week. And so we're just weekly trying to figure out what's the best way that we can get the ball in the hands of the people that can make the things happen for us. And I thought we did a good job of it this last week, regardless of what the score was, is because if you look around, and who needs to be getting the ball? Rashawn Caesar, right? Last week, Rashawn Caesar needed to get the ball. We got it to him 9 times for a good amount of yards and popped him free a few times. And recognizing, obviously, that I'm not tipping my hand because their staff's good staff. They know what's going on, too, is when you have all those other guys that maybe aren't as experienced or maybe not quite the threat, then you find ways to double cover people. So I think from an offensive perspective, the offensive staff did a great job in the sense that we popped him free 9 times to get a completion and had 138 yards. Because if all of a sudden we all know that he's the threat. I know that he's the threat. They do too. We kept him alive during the game because he can make plays for us. And but this is different. This is a different scheme this week. And so consequently, because of that with different personnel, we'll have to shift and adjust to make sure that all those people that can make plays for us, and every one of them's got their own little attributes. You know, I mean, Rashawn can do some things for us. Courtney Davis can run. Centarius can run and catch. You know, and this guy's good out in space and so on. Is we've got to find those ways to manufacture offense right now, because going back to it would be unfair for me to ask Courtney Davis to run these precision routes that we asked Brent Leonard to run last year. It's not fair. It's not what he does. So,
Coach, beyond next year, as far as the depth goes,
beyond next year?
Right. Well,
It'll be like 2 years down the road.
Let me finish.
I'm worried about this ball game this week, and you're.
But beyond next year, what else goes through your mind as far as preserving a red shirt to where you don't have these immediate depth issues that you can pull a red shirt off a guy to put him in a receiver, defensive back,
Sure.
whatever?
If anybody can help us win at the start of the season, I'm going to play them. And I think it becomes very difficult late in the season for me to look a young man in the eye after saying, guess what, you've made great progress, and I know you're ready to play, and you weren't playing earlier because we had great depth at the position. And now things have changed, and I'm going to make you throw away 10 games that you could possibly play 1 year down the road to play in 2. It's not fair. That is not fair. And quite honestly, I've got legislation, which I mentioned, in front of the NCAA that I've pushed for 5 years, that I think is finally going to pass, because I've been put in this situation, as has other coaches. We've been put in this thing way too many times. This is not fair. It's not fair to your football team. It's not fair to the coaches, and it's certainly not fair to the young man. And so we are always going to look at every young player, whether it be a freshman or anybody else that comes in. Are they physically ready to play? Are they mentally ready to play? Or are they emotionally ready to play? And I think those are the 3 factors that you're asking yourself. And if they already play, Trey Martin's played the whole season for us. We knew early in the season that all 3 of those factors we felt good about. And once we commit to playing one, we're going to play him. I'm not going to make up some kind of phony hardship to where all of a sudden, he's not playing very well, he can't handle emotionally, now he's hurt, right? And because we're not supposed to be teaching our young people those kind of things in terms of being deceitful and all that other that. I mean, that's not what we're supposed to be all about. So, but ultimately, I've said from day one, and I think we've done a good job recruiting here. I think the older players would tell you that we've done a good job recruiting here because our guys are still in our program, and I think they're going to be good players. Some of them already are, obviously. That I mentioned I wanted to be around here for a long time. I think I've proved that with the number of guys we've redshirted and guys we've recruited, because that's part of the journey of building a program rather than just cycling through a season. And this season hadn't obviously turned out as well as what we thought it would, but it's not the precursor to something else. It is what it is, and I like kind of what we have coming back down the road.
Coach, this may be the last time we have a setting like this where you and Kolton are in the same room together. Is there anything that we don't know about Kolton? I mean, we can look up all the records that we don't know at this point after 4 years.
Wow.
I'll have to make him cry.
No, I mean, Kolton and I's relationship is really strong. We've gone through an awful lot together, and I think that not just, there's the head coach-player relationship, and then obviously there's the position coach and player relationship. And And so through all that, you get really, I think, really comfortable around each other. And so in that, I've got a very comfortable room, okay? And so consequently, because there's a comfortable room, there's all kinds of things that you do not know about Kolton Browning that I could say. But those are for our room. Obviously, tremendous young man, better player than, as I said before, he was a good player coming in, and he's a better player now because he was willing to go through the work of doing it. And quite honestly, he's even a better person, cares about his teammates, going to give it up, and that's evident in every time that he plays about how hard he plays. You don't always see quarterbacks play that hard, and he does. And overcome an injury, selfless. He's been the face of the program for the last 4 years, as everybody knows. This obviously is going to be you're right, this is probably the last time that we're together and in a room together from a media standpoint anyway. But he's always, I think, going to be kind of up to him a little bit. He might be coming up here getting ready to say just the opposite. Man, I'm finally rid of this guy. But no, I mean, I think I'll always be a part of his life. He's always going to be a part of my life, and that's what's great about coaching. And especially whenever you kind of, again, we've had a lot of shared moments, good and bad, and that brings people, I think, even closer together along those lines. So I would do anything for him, and he knows that, and I think he'd do anything for me. And that's can't say that about lots of people, and I can about him.
Kind of brought up, you talked, I think a couple weeks ago, talked about he's been elected like the team captain for so many years. I know that going to the last game is whenever the guys usually vote. I didn't see it. Is it the game notes? I didn't see it.
Yeah,
but
it is.
It is.
I overlooked it. But can you touch on what the guys ended up coming up with?
They did, and this is good for down the road. I don't think it's, but Rashawn Caesar, okay, was elected as the offensive captain, and I think a lot of that comes from. Rashawn's going to be a really good player, good leader, all that other kind of thing. But I think also, for players sometimes, it's also about being out there all the time too. And there was a time frame, obviously, when Kolton was separated from the team for a while, because of the injury and so on. And while he was still around, there's that void. And Rashawn stepped in during Kolton's absence and stepped into that void of leadership. And so I don't think this was, these are good things. I mean, when you've got guys when you got a bunch of guys, and I'm not going to get into the votes. I know what the vote tallies were in terms of numbers and all those kind of things. But when you look and you go, there's a lot of guys getting votes. That's a good thing. Sometimes those things are, they're pretty close. And but that I do feel very strongly that this is one of the greatest awards that a player can get, and he won it 3 times. And that because it's voted on by your peer group in relation to the body of work through the season. And who do you really want to be like? Who do you want to emulate? Who's the guy out there that just inspires you with his work ethic, all the other things? And so I think it's a great award. And this is, a team award that I want the team to vote on because I think it is that special when your own peer group does that for you. So Cameron Blakes was the defensive captain, and Justin Mann was the special teams captain.
Any other questions for Coach Berry?
I thought he'd gone to sleep on us there for a second, Alex said.
I figured I'd give a little bit more time this time, just to, if anybody else wanted to keep you around for a few more minutes.
I know, just like, we had 3 questions, like, no, you're not getting off that easy in the last question.
They were, but those 3 questions didn't revolve yes and no answers, though, either, did they?
That's
So,
true.
Thanks, Coach.
you bet, guys. Should I stay in the room, Kolton, since they asked for me to stay in the room? I will see you shortly, aren't I? So.
All right, first up, senior quarterback Kolton Browning. floor is open for questions.
A long time coming here. I don't really think a lot of people want to see it in, but what has this week been like, just knowing that, this is the last game, regular season,
I guess it hasn't really hit me yet. Just kind of, I'm preparing like it's been every other game of the season. And, it really probably won't hit me until I finish the game Saturday. But I can't really kind of jump out and say this week's been different just because I'm preparing for the last college football game or whatever it may be, because, I'm just excited to get back out there and play again, especially it being the rivalry game. Just being another chance to play with my teammates, my senior class, and this group of guys that I've been with here for the past 4 years is just, it's kind of bittersweet, but I'm ready to get out there and play this week.
What are your biggest memories or fondest memories of this rivalry?
I haven't been I've been unfortunate not to be able to beat him yet, which is, a little bit of motivation there, but you've been in some really close ball games with these guys. Freshman year, extra point gets blocked and hits off the upright or the crossbar, I can't remember, and then the year after that we lose again by one more point. It's just kind of, we've been right there on the edge, not been able to get over that hump, and this year, it's another opportunity. It should be an exciting game, and they're going to bring a big crowd. They always do when we play them, and it'll be exciting.
Is it unique playing in front of that crowd in terms of what you hear?
You hear some things from the fans, but it's that's everywhere you go. Maybe a little bit more there at ULL, but it's with any crowd you get. You go there. I mean, we've played in front of plenty of crowds that have been just as big or maybe even bigger. So going into that kind of environment's not really going to bar us that much. We know what we got to do to go out there, and as far as snap counts or getting guys lined up, we know exactly what we got to do. So we just got to go out and execute that.
As media schmucks, we'll keep replaying how that thing played out last year. Does that come in any play of this year's game?
No, not at all. Of course, everybody looks back on the last play. Okay, is that going to give you motivation? Is that going to? Not really. Just ready to line back up and play them one more time. It's like I said, it's the last game for us seniors. We're excited just to be able to get back out there and play them again, and then go out with the. Of course, we want to go out with the win and go out and execute, and just be able to be with our guys and get this last one over with. We're ready to play. It's just we want it to be here already. And of course, you got to get through the whole week of practices and stuff like that. But we're right here ready to play.
is it more motivation knowing that you got hurt there in the first half last year and being able to play a full game and proving what maybe this team can do with you out there and the different things y'all can execute?
Last year it was unfortunate, of course, going down with another injury, but things happen. You got to overcome them. I wanted to go back in the game so bad, but I knew that I couldn't. The best thing for me was just kind of sit out and make sure that I was needed to get healthy and do what I needed to do. But it's we've been capable of it all year. We haven't necessarily showed it. We're a great offensive group, and of course health plays factors in that. We haven't necessarily had people, but a lot of people have stepped up in the roles that they didn't think that they probably would have at the beginning of the season. And we're going to go out and execute the game plan that we have, and we're going to go make sure that we try to put points on the board just like we have several weeks in this season.
As a big leader on the team and being a part of the senior class, do you feel like a lot of times when a season doesn't go the way you want it to, you've seen it every year with different teams about just checking out. That last ball game, just kind of like, okay, let's go ahead and get it over with because the season hasn't gone the way we wanted. Do you see any of that, or is it more like we just want to have fun and go out there and be with these guys one more time?
I just think that we want to go out there and have fun. It's this class that I've been with. We've been here for 4 years. Played lots of ball games together. Been in lots of great games and sometimes in some bad situations. But we've a lot of times found ways to dig out of those holes and come back and win a lot of ball games. And just the opportunity to be able to play one more time and to get back out there. Everybody's excited on the team, excited to show out, and we're just ready to play.
Talk about injuries being a big part of this year, but do you think there's anything else you can pinpoint about just why things didn't go the way that everybody anticipated, and going into this week thinking that this was going to be the game that had the conference title implications on the line?
Of course, everybody in preseason had us picked to, this be the game for the conference championship and all that, but adversity happens, injuries happen, but, still that's not an excuse. I mean, of course it plays a big role, but as we have players in this program that can step up and make the plays, and we haven't necessarily showed that throughout the year. Sometimes we've played up tight and, including myself. I can't sit here and say that I have not played up tight because at some point in the season, yes I have. And when you play up tight, you can't necessarily go out and have fun. You're worried about messing up, and when you worry about messing up, it just continues to snowball, and bad things happen. We've overcame that in the season, and we want to be able to go out there this week and play, have fun, just play to have fun, and go out and show everybody that we can still be the offense that we've been capable of being the whole season.
Any other questions for Kolton?
Well, I guess I need to ask you, I don't turn this into a bromance or anything, but you and Coach Berry, you've been with him longer than anybody else. Just what has he meant to your career?
A lot. He came in here, I was a redshirt freshman when he came in. My first spring, necessarily didn't know everything that I needed to know in order to operate the offense, but I was willing to learn. He's definitely the smartest coach I've ever been around. Showed me exactly a lot of things that I didn't even know about, and made me the player that I am to this day. And just a great guy to be around. Definitely sells out for the team, all about the program, the kids in it, and it's been a fun experience over the past 4 years, and definitely gonna miss it. Y'all were too easy today.
Talk smack as he backs away.
Wait, sit back down. We got some more.
I guess now I can leave to the safe too. I pulled the fat joke out of the book.
Yeah, it's only made mistakes, all right?
I'll tell you what, Arkansas people.
Barefoot.
I'm letting it live true, aren't I?
Oh, barefoot.
All right, next up, sophomore linebacker Hunter Kissinger. Floor is open for questions.
Well, kind of like along the same lines I asked Kolton, a lot of teams you see every year, like maybe a team doesn't have the season they want, they just check out at the end of the game, at the end of the season. But do you see that has even crept in whatsoever with this group, or is it just more like, let's take this game as an opportunity to play again?
No, I don't think it's crept in at all due to the fact of we haven't beat Lafayette, and I think a lot of people here want to take this opportunity and make the best of it, especially for the seniors. This could possibly be their last game, and we want to go out with a win on a good note for them. Their senior night didn't go the way they had planned, or the way we had planned at all. So we want to take this last game, give them an opportunity to go out and play the best we can and win a game, and not necessarily just prove anything to anybody else, but to ourselves that we can win, that we can still do this, and that we can beat the conference champs.
What makes Lafayette so good? I mean, looking at the stats, they lead most of the offensive categories, if not in the top 3. But it looks like, they just really have kind of leaned on the run and just pounding it right up the middle. But what have you seen so far?
Their backs run really hard, and whenever you keep running hard and running hard and running hard, there's going to be plays that you're going to get because of it. And when you keep that mentality, it's eventually going to work out, whether it's, the first play of the game or 6 or 7 plays in the game, or it could be the fourth quarter. So that's what I've noticed from them. They run really hard, and they're very physical up front, and they get pushed off the ball, and the offensive line helps our running game as well.
Has it been kind of frustrating? I know that with the defense y'all run, y'all take pride in stopping the run first, and I think this is stuff at y'all in the lowest part and rushing defense y'all been in, I guess, the 5 years that Coach Robert's been here. Is this something that y'all kind of take to heart and want to show that y'all are a really strong group that can stop the run?
Yeah, we definitely take it to heart, because that's one thing that we want to pride ourselves in, is stopping the run, like you said, and getting beat on the run. It's not something we want to do. That's part of the game that we want to control. We want to make an offense one-dimensional. Hey, let them know that they're not going to run the ball and make them pass. And we haven't done that this year. And part of it is I needed to be better and do things, to maybe get penetration here and there. And just across the board, we got to start knocking them off the ball and be a little more physical. And we got to get that mentality back of stopping the run, more importantly. And it's got to be across the board, everybody full on, just say, hey, we're not going to let everybody run the ball on us, and we got one more game to do it. So
Everyone's focused on Kolton Browning's last game, but really kind of the quarterback, so to say, of the defense there. Cam Blake's will be his last game. What's he really taught you at the linebacker position?
Oh, he's taught me a lot. Cam, he's an awesome player, very inspirational, encouraging, and that's what I think is the best part about him is he's always there and supporting us and helping us get better. He's taught me a lot as far as being physical, playing with your hands, not getting down when things go wrong. He's always lifting me up, and he's always encouraging me. And not just me, that's everyone on the team. That's the best attribute I can say about Cam is that he just makes you feel good about yourself, which is good because you need confidence when you're out there on that field. And he's a great player too, and I want to take this game and get a win for him as well because I've enjoyed my time here with him, and it's gonna be a big loss losing him.
You're being from the state of Arkansas, I'm sure it didn't take you very long to realize how big this rivalry was because as soon as you got here, some of these crazy games happened. But what was probably like the first thing that stuck out where you're like, oh, okay, I see why this game is so heated?
Freshman year, whenever I think I got Scott Team Player of the Week or something, I traveled to that Lafayette game, so I was there freshman year, and I saw the crowd and just how excited, how their crowd responded to us, and just the whole ordeal, and I recognized it really fast, and I think especially whenever we lost that game in the locker room, how discouraged everyone was in there and their attitude towards that loss. And I mean, every loss, you're disappointed, but whenever you lose to Lafayette, it hurts a little worse. And so I think that I recognized that my freshman year traveling down there, and just how the team reacted when we lost that game.
Any other questions for Hunter?